Hello and welcome to another episode of Citadel Guard Adventures. This is Beriathan of the Citadel Guard of Gondor. We are back in Ehathertas on the slopes, we can say, of Caras Gelebren. I think we are ready now to start exploring the city. But, well, we gotta grab some of these materials first, as many as we can get once again. I think we're doing good, and there should be plenty of pictures on the city itself, so I think we should be okay. Now we need to climb the sloping path, defeat foes, scout the approach to Caras Gelebren basically, and then defeat the enemies inside. It's simple enough, I guess. The slope leads upward to the ruins of the city, already full of enemies. Yeah, I can tell. In case you can't, my sword was shining so bright just a moment ago. And the bodies of two Uruks lie here in the grass. Alright. You pull an arrow from the Uruk's back. The arrow is of fine elf make. A new turn of events. You retrieve an elf arrow from the other corpse and hear someone calling you. You have discovered Caras Gelebren, and we have met Bregoleth.
Those are my arrows. Return them to me and I can slay more Uruks.
I think that is in everyone's interest, is it not? Yeah, I think you're right.
I am pleased to see we share a purpose. Or at least we have our hatred of orc kind in common.
My name is Bregoleth. I came from distant Imladris on a journey of my own, but hearing of Uruks abroad in Eregion caused me to divert my steps. Now I slay the creatures wherever I find them and will bring word of what I have seen back to Elrond when I know more. You tell Bregoleth that the Uruks speak of the wizard Sauron as if he is their master. That is most concerning, but a dead Uruk serves no master. Let us call the creatures that stalk the ruins of Caras Gelebren, and afterward we can discuss if they spoke truth or falsehood. Absolutely. So, what else do we have here? We're gonna grab a shatter pitcher in here. Awesome. And I think the setting sun. Oh my god. Yeah. How can we not take a picture of this? And in fact, it's been a while. Let's see if I can get a good angle for this. If you would get in position, Garalif, and I'll do my best. Yeah, sadly, Garalif doesn't fit into the framing here. But oh my god, take a look at this. Oh, I love it. And Beriathan's face up close, the new face after the Avatar update. Doesn't look so bad as the initial deployment of this update was. I'm really confident. I'm really glad of the end result that I got. Now here we have Tarandir, and this guy will come into play later. This is something that we can actually not do yet, and in fact I don't think we can do it with this Beriathan on Landroval. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna advance the epic and the side quests in Caras Gelebren as much as I can, and I'm gonna leave Tarandir for last because I think I will need to switch back to Arkenstone to actually do that quest, which is a shame, but what else can I do? I don't know. This is the best solution I can come up with regarding this predicament, and I will tell you more about it when we get there. Awesome. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's also a couple more items here for the deed. So we gotta really take the time to explore this place. It's really not that big, but it's big enough. Come on, wake up. Wake up. Thank God, this level up came in the perfect moment. So what do we got here? We got level 15, expert spear, sword and club training, 1 class trade point, and that's basically it. But the extra class trade point, oh, there's one I had forgotten to use. All right, now I can start adding points to one of these 2 traits now that I have unlocked the bleeds. And I think I'm gonna go with this one. Now the buried treasure event we are not doing at the time. Awesome, another picture in here. There's a captain there, but I don't worry too much about that one. Dim candle, nonetheless, that's a good drop. Your silence skills don't do much, at least not yet. Completed Uruks layer of Swampfleet. Awesome. Take a look in here. Nothing. Just unlocking the new deed. And that deed would only give 5 LOTRO points. Really. The deeds in Swampfleet and Cardolan. Oh my god. Anyway, we're gonna equip this new bracelet that we got recently, but we also have this pocket item that we got at the end of last episode, I believe it was. So all this is looking really good. We are only missing 1 ring slot, and we of course need to start upgrading our armor, but since we don't have armor crafting, since I didn't pick up a tailor, I will need to wait until I get those rewards through quests. The last two clutched a piece of parchment in one hand. Alright, so we gotta read this one. Bregoleth will want to see this report. Mauhai, Paraltoki Shinogatangus. Gimbat Mabotonu Golugus Sahov Sogob. Gurnar Prachat Turquil Dalgum. Gurnark Sabat Kathar. Goluguat Largul Nazgu. Gur Prachat Gimbat Takop Fulga Artataru. I did the best I could with a black speech. It does really sound ominous and evil. So, good job there. Well, on one hand, the professor's work, even though he didn't, as far as I know, he didn't develop the black speech that much. So, the task of adding to that was left to other people, and at least in LOTRO's case, they did a great job of adding to the black speech. It sounds very fitting. Oh, and the sword also glows if I'm doing the emote. That's awesome. I didn't remember that. Anyway, we gotta bring this report to Bregoleth. But we also gotta go back to Echatertas and Hilarion. So before we do that, I have the feeling there's supposed to be something else in here. From what I remember, we will be coming back here anyways. But I want to see how much of this I can do before going back. And at least, wow, it seems we have found an amazing place for all scholars. Look at that. 6 nodes on the map. Just like that. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna take some time to grab all of this, because I don't know if I'll get the chance to get more materials later. We are almost done with Swampfleet, and as far as I know, and I might be wrong on that anyways, but as far as I know, the other places that we are missing here in Swampfleet do not have any of these shatter features, so we gotta get them while we can. And once again, I guess we'll need to make a quick stop at Langaran on our way back so that we can craft all this. What do we have here? Please don't make me regret this choice. Oh, we're gonna be okay. Alright. Anything interesting in here? Well, at least the picture. But we'll need to wait and see. Once again, we'll need to come back here for more things. So we'll see at that point what else we can find. Alright. There goes another Uruk. Nothing else yet. Lots of pictures. There's that. I mean, this seems like a great spot to farm tier 1 materials. It's really not that necessary in my opinion, but it's still nice to have this helping out. Anti-exploit, alright. Was not on purpose, but if that stops the Uruk or whatever from attacking us, that will be great. Okay. We climbed down. Oh, this was not it, but turned out okay. At least. And as you can see here, Tarandir will still not offer the quest. We need to be at least level 20 to get this quest, because this is the quest for the skirmish added with Before the Shadow, the Doom of Caras Gelebren. But since that is a skirmish, that means 1, since skirmishes open at level 20, we need to be at least level 20 to access the skirmish and to access this quest. And we are not going to get 5 levels in Caras Gelebren alone, that's not gonna happen. But even if by any chance we got those levels, before doing the skirmish, we would also need to run the skirmish tutorial. And this is another one of the gripes I have with Before the Shadow. I mean, the skirmish, it's a really small detail. I might be nitpicking in here, but the skirmish, it's not a part of the story that we are following now with Bregoleth and the Rangers, and that's okay. But it adds a lot of backstory, and it's a really cool moment to witness. But as a new player, as you see here, you cannot access the skirmish when you are supposed to, when you get to Caras Gelebren. By the time you get to level 20, you will be most likely in Cardolan or finishing Swampfleet at any rate. And if you are a new player who has no idea about any of the game systems, then you will be bombarded with skirmishes at level 20, and you will have the option of doing a Gondamon, Tokboro, and Caras Gelebren, and I don't remember what else. But what I'm trying to say here is that while I appreciate that we got a new skirmish in a game after God knows how many years, and the skirmish itself is really fun and really interesting, it is not integrated that well into the flow of the game, the flow of this area in particular. What would have I done if I were the one doing this? And I'm not sure, you know, the engine and the code is kind of funky, but I think this is a reasonable request, let's say. But I would make skirmishes available at level 10. And if you're not going to make all other skirmishes available at level 10, at least have the players get the ability to join skirmishes at level 10 and introduce them to skirmishes with Doom of Caras Gelebren, and rework the tutorial somehow so that you don't need to do the tutorial before you do the Doom of Caras Gelebren, because there are no skirmish camps in Swampfleet. So that means that you really need to go to Bree or Thorin's Gate or Kellendin, the Shire, or any other place that's not here to just do a tutorial that a lot of players are already fed up with, so that you can come back here and pick up the quest at level 20 when you are already past this place. You are doing this at level 14 or 15. As you see here, this is really not integrated well into the game. And once again, I do appreciate what they did with Doom of Caras Gelebren, but oh my god, as we say in my country, you were missing 5 cents for the dollar, and you were so close of just hitting the right spot with this, but this really takes away from the overall experience. And I was saving this sort of rant for the time when we would be doing the skirmish with my level 140 Beriathan, but I guess that's the way things flowed with all these quests. In any way, that's why we are not talking to Tarandir yet. So let us bring the report we found to Bregoleth.
Slaying Uruks may be its own reward, but finding a clue to their purpose here is even better.
I understand you found a report on one of the creatures? You hand the parchment to Bregoleth and she studies it intently. It gives me no joy to read the black speech, but it is much worse to speak than it is to read. Here is what this report says in a language that does not cruelly twist my tongue. Warriors, scout the old forges in Hallin. Find relics of elvish jewelcraft. I want not worthless trash, I desire lore. The elves made rings there. I wish to find their lost artisan knowledge. Bregoleth looks up at you. This is worse than I expected, Beriathan. For some unfathomable purpose, Saruman the White has betrayed us. He seeks the Ring-lore of Eregion, and he has sent his Uruks to obtain it. And that, of course, is not good. I was just double checking the cosmetic in here, nothing too fancy, so let's pick this one.
The Elves of Eregion were deceived before by gifts and promises of secret knowledge.
The Elves of Eregion were deceived before by words of kindness, Beriathan, by offers of gifts and promises of secret knowledge. It was a lesson hard learned, but I have spent this many years believing this to be true. We learned it well. Indeed, I say we, for I dwelt at Celebrimbor city in those days. It was a grand sight of art and learning, its wide green lawns and smooth stone lanes to be found on both sides of the river. Meadowville it was, the jewel town, and Caras Gelebren, the silver bastion. It was a welcoming place. Too welcoming. Bregoleth gazes at you steadily. I ask you to return to the city above and see the state of it. There may be artifacts within we should keep from the Uruks and from their master, whether he be a wizard or no. I will examine whatever you find and judge if there is still danger for the elves among the bones of Celebrimbor's citadel, or only grief still to be found. Alright, these are the artifacts that we needed to find in the city. Okay. So after this sort of long rant about the skirmishes and how they were not implemented all that well in the game, we are immediately met with one of the greatest moments in Before the Shadow and arguably in the entire game. What's gonna happen after we collect all these artifacts? Because we are gonna learn a lot more about this, and this goes back to the idea that this expansion does a great job at teasing what's coming next in the game and teasing the elements that readers would expect from the books, characters, locations, and episodes. But it will also start teasing things that will come later on the Shadows of Angmar storyline, the LOTRO team's own creation. And it's really amazing how the devs were able to weave these two together so seamlessly in Before the Shadow, and we'll see a little bit about that in here. But first, we'll need to start checking all this. We have first a broken column. The once beautiful pillars of Caras Gelebren are now sad reminders of war. Cracked plate. This ancient plate is covered with a spiderweb of cracks, rendering it unusable. Alright, so we need to continue looking. Nothing in here. Let's try and run a little bit faster. Shatter picture, because why not? We do need it. There's gonna be another artifact in here, I think. Oh yeah. Plus another picture, that's awesome. Yeah, you come here. Not afraid of you. Discarded pouch. This small pouch now contains only dust and splinters of rock. None of the lamps that illuminated Caras Gelebren by night remain standing. Alrighty. So, how about this one? This shatter picture. We gotta go to the center of Caras Gelebren. Another feature, awesome. Oh, not again. How long is this stun? 8 seconds? My god. Wake up. Thank you. Oh god. We also need to get steadfast. Fast. Another picture in here. Aged hammer. This hammer, worn with age, nearly falls apart in your hand. Already did, it seems. Toppled statue, this once proud statue of Celebrimbor now lies half buried in the earth. Okay, bring the artifacts to Bregoleth. I'm going. We'll be there really soon, I hope. Not gonna make this jump again. Oh my god. I need to. I took the wrong turn once again. Jeez. Getting so lost in this city. Shouldn't be. It's not that hard to navigate.
These are sad reminders of times long past.
But they are surely not what Saruman seeks in this place. In my heart, I know for what he searches. It is Ring-lore he desires, the same knowledge with which the builder of this city was ensnared. If he finds it, I fear he could work great evil upon the lands and peoples of Middle-earth. Bregoleth gazes at the horizon obscured by a distant fog. From the hilltop above, you hear the harsh calls of Orkind even over the wind. After a moment, the elf warrior turns back to you. I will tell you the tale of the Jewel Town and the Silver Bastion, so you will know how we were deceived, and you will know why it must not happen again. It is of Antheron I must speak, the giver of gifts, but you will know him by another name, for he is Sauron, and he is the enemy.
After the fall of Beriathan, most of my people came to live in the land of Lindon to the west.
Under the benevolent rule of Gil-galad, bonds of friendship were made with the dwarves of Eretluin, but a thriving trade in metal and gems with that people dwindled as the Longbeard suffered war and disaster of their own. Yearning for mithril to fashion into their works of art and beauty, many of the Noldor followed the dwarves as they journeyed eastward. Led by Celebrimbor, descendant of Feanor, the elves sailed in the holy covered hills beneath the west gate of Khazad-dûm. There was once again friendship and trade between elf and dwarf, and Celebrimbor's city in Eregion thrived. Eregion was still a young kingdom when the men of Númenor arrived. Tar Aldarion, the king, sailed up the river Gwathlô and debarked to explore the Swampfleet on foot. He befriended Celebrimbor and forged alliances with the elfsmiths, and in return they taught some among his people techniques of armor shaping and the engraving of Ithildin and moon runes. In time, Aldarion grew old and came no more to Caras Gelebren, but the friendship between his people and mine endured. The friendship endured, but it was tested. The Númenóreans were a seafaring people and they had long exhausted the forests of their island home. They hungered for timber to build more and mightier ships. The Lady Galadriel, who dwelt for a time in Eregion and often danced alongside the lily-covered waterways, despaired to see the toll taken upon the wide woodlands by Númenórean axes. When the shipbuilders began to dredge her beloved Swampfleet and build dikes to channel the waters, she entreated Celebrimbor to stop the men of Númenor from harming the land. Oh, what an amazing introduction to the story. All this is explained with a little bit more detail in the Unfinished Tales. And, well, of course the LOTRO team does not have access to that, but there is still plenty of information from the appendices for them to be able to tell us this story. They only need to change a couple names and maybe omit a couple things, but all in all, this is a great story and I'm so glad we are listening to this right now. Of course, Beriathan hearing about his Númenórean ancestors and the relation they have with Eregion. I'm not sure how much does he know of the Númenórean kings of old, Tar Aldarion and Celebrimbor, and how that started the alliance between the Númenóreans and the Elves of Lindon, which was fundamental for the War of the Last Alliance, and that's something that comes later down the game. So it's not a tease per se, because Bregoleth is not telling us anything that deals directly with what we will find in Mordor Besieged, for example, but is all still part of the same picture. So Please go on, Bregoleth.
It pained Celebrimbor to see the woods and fens so ill-treated, but he did not want to harm his alliance with the men of Numenor.
He counseled them to take greater care of the land, but his words were not heeded. Galadriel's sorrow became too great, and she turned her attention to Laurelin Donenan and other distant lands. Celebrimbor gave up the woods at last, turning all his attention and skill toward mastering his craft. Together, Celebrimbor and his fellowship of jewelsmiths became the most renowned workers of riches in all of Middle-earth. If they could not halt the slow degradation of the land's beauty, they would at least seek to supplement and preserve it through their craft. And so, they weren't snared. Are you ready?
I can still see this city as it was, during the height of its beauty. So much was lost.
So much indeed. The Silver Bastion became a shining jewel itself, a beacon of art and music and culture that drew the attention and the love of many from distant lands. Caras Gelebren and Mirabel became places of such beauty they recalled the fabled elf halls of old, and trade with Lindon thrived. But not all who watched this from afar watched with friendly eyes. In the land of Mordor, to which he fled following the defeat of his master Morgoth, Sauron seethed. He feared the rising might of Numenor, and despite having drawn orcs and other fell creatures to his service, he knew he did not possess the overwhelming numbers with which his master had dominated the world in past days of triumph. He devised a scheme by which he would use his enemies' weaknesses against them. And so, he came to Eregion in fair guise, masking his true nature.
He called himself Onthoron.
Word of your craft skill has spread far and wide, my lord Celebrimbor. Even in the uttermost west. I am humbled by your presence here, Antheron. I see in your arrival an omen of good fortune. Accept my greetings and my welcome. You will be my honored guest. Antheron had gone first to Lindon, but Gil-galad mistrusted him and refused to treat with the strange newcomer. It was in Caras Gelebren that the Lord of Gifts found one whose lineage and whose hunger for secret knowledge made him the perfect target for Antheron's promises. Celebrimbor could not resist, and before long the new arrival became a mentor to him and to the jewelsmiths of Eregion.
Not all who dwelled at Caras Gelebren trusted this new arrival. Celeborn saw something in the Lord of Gifts that troubled him.
Claimed that Galadriel was not here. I cannot say what I am so disquieted, Oranoril. I share your unease, my lord. The Bright Company will go wherever you lead. Oh. Show us this threat, and we will end it. Awesome. But that is the heart of the problem, my friend. What is the threat? Alright, it seems I need to go back on my words. This is indeed also teasing what's to come during Mordor Besieged and the Black Book of Mordor with the Grey Company. And it's also dropping Celeborn's name, which once again does a great job at attracting readers that have not played the game before, which was the intention of this expansion. So we are finally seeing the big names, Celeborn, and you are being told about a Bright Company. As a reader, you would not have any idea about, wondering what that is. And I imagine players who don't know what a Bright Company is and getting the answer for that more than 100 levels later? If they can remember this, I'm sure this would blow at least one mind. Oh, this is... Oh, I'm loving this instance even more than I remembered. Though Galadriel had gone, Celeborn remained at Caras Gelebren. As Eregion's chief defender, he refused to abandon these lands and sought instead to protect them against the stranger who had seized Celebrimbor's ear. Antheron hated the Bright Company and its deeds, and summoned one threat after another to trouble them. Celeborn and his warriors were often drawn away from the city, and many a noble elf was slain in these engagements. But still, the Lord of the Bright Company could not connect these rising threats with the newcomer Antheron and his two ready smiles.
Despite the mistrust of some at Celebrimbor's city, Antheron did not remain idle. He gathered to himself promising students and gave to them secret knowledge.
Oh, this one is also really
But
interesting.
whatever he taught them, always he held something in secret. Always there was more to be learned, more instruction to be given.
How will we know we have mastered what thou hast taught us? The most promising among you will know, Narmeleth. Oh my god, we missed in here. It happened so fast. But of course we have Antheron, Sauron, talking to Narmeleth, but as of right now she is only referred to as Elf student. And well, we get to learn her name from Sauron himself, which, as I was saying, will start teasing what's to come on the Shadows of Angmar storyline. So, as you see, it's so great the way in which the game is teasing the book material, but it's also teasing the game material. And you would also have seen Laerdan on the side, and Laerdan is also not referenced by name on this instance. He has the name of Mistrusting Elf or something like that. He doesn't even have any line of dialogue, but he is there. So once again, if you paid attention to all these, by the time you meet Laerdan, for example, in Book 8, he will ring a bell. When you hear the name Narmeleth, that would ring a bell. And we'll get to see a little bit more of these teases throughout this instance. And well, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but during the skirmish as well, that was also one of my favorite moments of all this. So, another great teasing here. What happens next, Bregoleth? The students were not his only pupils. As the years passed, Antheron grew more and more brazen. Celebrimbor and his jewelsmiths fell further beneath his thumb, ensnared by his promises of secret knowledge and the working of crafts both beautiful and powerful. Oh, the forges of Thumb Myrdain. Awesome! Oh, I can't believe it. Now let me take a picture of Bregoleth at the forges. Once again, another great tease for the Shadows of Angmar storyline. Once again, you will come back here, and if you paid attention to this, you will already know this place, and it would help you give you the sensation of you coming full circle. This started in here, and this is ending in here. And if you remember what happens in Volume 1 when you come to the Forges of Thumb Myrdain, is one of the greatest moments of the entire Volume 1 storyline, where you confront Narmeleth and Mordrambor, and when the false king is revealed once again. And oh my god, so many things happened in that instance, and the game is easing the new players into all that with this. I cannot say enough praise for this instance in particular, but once again for the way in which the Before the Shadow storyline is written to enhance and to allow this kind of moments. The Jewel Town and the Silver Bastion thrived, and the glory of Celebrimbor and his jewelsmiths only increased, year after year. but the true masterpiece of Caras Gelebren was its ring forge.
Antheron convinced the jewelsmith to forge great rings of power. Long they toiled, until at last their work was complete.
A set of 7 and a set of 9. You are certain these great rings will help preserve the land? They will help protect the lands of those who wear them, my lord. Give them to the holy gears and the fellers of trees. The degradations they cause will be slowed. I called your arrival an omen of good fortune, Lord of Gifts. And yet I undervalue the help you would provide. I serve the powers, my lord. As do I, in all things. And couple more interesting things in here. Now, of course, we hear about the Rings of Power by name, the Great Rings. And once again, this also helps you set in the world. I mean, this immediately makes this a Lord of the Rings game, not a Middle Earth game, but a Lord of the Rings game. I think there is a difference in there, because in Middle Earth there can be many more stories. All of them, of course, will be in some way or another related to the Lord of the Rings storyline if they happen in the Third Age, but that was also one of the gripes I had with the initial Shadows of Angmar storyline. You got to meet some of the characters from the books, but for the most part you were doing something entirely different to what happened in the books, but not so much anymore, because now that we have heard them being called by their name, that suddenly, even for myself who knows what happens here, but that has changed the way in which I feel about what I have played before and what I will be playing from now on. So this whole moment here was amazing. And something also very important to mention in here, you will see they have only just crafted the 7 dwarf rings and the 9 rings for the mortal men, because the 3 elven rings were crafted by Celebrimbor and Sauron never got to touch them. His malice never got to those 3 rings. And if you've seen a particular show, you know that has not been adapted as much. I'm not gonna talk about the show too much. I enjoyed it for what it was, but there were a lot of things that of course were not what we wanted and what we expected. So we'll need to wait and see if they can improve upon what they had. I hope they do, because we all love a faithful Middle Earth, but once again, there's still room for improvement. Not so much here, because here it's very clear the 3 rings were forged after the 7 and the 9, and Sauron didn't have anything to do with their creation. Celebrimbor gave to the kings of dwarves and men the rings he had made, and for a time he knew peace, not knowing he had been deceived, not knowing that what he had done would nearly undo the world. Shortly afterwards, Antheron departed. He would return to Eregion only once more, and when he did, he would bring death and destruction with him. But after he was gone, Celebrimbor began to doubt. In time, suspicion awakened in his heart, and he began to worry that Antheron had ensnared him by his own greed in some devious scheme. And Antheron's return to Eregion will get to witness, not in this instance, but we'll get to witness that further down the road. He decided to use the art he had learned to forge 3 more great rings, unknown to the treacherous Lord of Gifts. He believed he and his kinsfolk could use these 3 rings for protection should matters go ill. And as you know, they will. The fires of doom! Oh my god, this is so exciting. so amazing, especially because during our travels in Mordor, we cannot see the fires of doom as we are about to see them in their full splendor, if you can say that, before the destruction of Mount Doom, before the destruction of the ring. In Mordor, we can only see the aftermath of what happens, but here we can see how the LOTRO team envisions this place. And the revelation of the One, oh my god, this is gonna be so great. Antheron returned to Mordor, and in the heart of his kingdom he cast aside his fair guise. He had no more need for deception. In Mordor, the Dark Lord Sauron sought the fulfillment of the scheme for which he had planned, walking unnoticed among his hated enemies for so many years.
You go on ahead. My words will guide you, but I go no further than this.
Understandable, I don't think any elves would want to come in here voluntarily, and maybe we shouldn't, but we gotta see the end of this story. Of course we do. Just take a look at this and tell me this doesn't look so evil and amazing and everything you want, everything you imagined from the Forges of Doom. And the closer we get, oh there he is. Can you see him? Oh my god.
In the fiery heat o'er Mount Doom, Sauron forged the ruling ring. One ring to rule them all.
Oh.
To find them. One ring to bring them all. And in the darkness find them.
In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. Oh.
Where the shadows lie.
You cannot see it, but right now I have such a big smile on my face from side to side. This was amazing. And this definitely makes up for everything I said about the skirmish. Yeah, it can be all the misimplemented that you want, but this instance in here, oh my god, this alone was worth the price of admission in itself. Oh my god, I would have never imagined the first time I played through Before the Shadow that we would get to see the forging of the One Ring. I mean, 15 years ago that sounded like such an outlandish idea, but we have seen the destruction of the we have seen the forging of the One Ring. We have met Sauron in Barad-dûr. We have seen now the destruction of the ring. All of this that you can witness in this game, man, oh man, the biggest smile you can imagine. And this is also quite fitting. Once again, I don't want to spend too much talking about this, but recently that we got the news that Amazon is once again doing a second go at a Lord of the Rings MMO, and after hearing some of the declarations of the president, the CEO, I don't know what the guy's position was, but how they were not going to stick as close to the books, and that raised some concerns, and what they had to say about LOTRO that didn't sit so well among the community. And the reason why is this, because you really need to work really hard and you really need to be very knowledgeable of what you are doing to be able to pull things like this. The forging of the One Ring, meeting Sauron inside Barad-dûr at the end of the Second Age, witnessing the destruction of the ring, meeting Frodo at Mount Doom, and every other thing that happens in between these events. Telling a cohesive story that is faithful to the events of the books, that is faithful to what's established in the lore, but at the same time is able to build upon it and create its own storylines. And give your character an important position in the middle of all that. I don't know if that seems so easy to the guys in there, but it is not, and the LOTRO team has done a commendable work in these 16 years that the game has been active. And my god, I'm still kind of shaking after playing through this instance. This was, oh my god, I'm speechless. You can see I'm speechless. And we're going back to this idea of this storyline in Before the Shadow being able to tie up with the events of the books that the early chapters of Shadows of Ankh weren't able to do, teasing what will come next, teasing what they are taking from the books, teasing what they are doing on their own. All this, man, I mean, slow-mo clap for the LOTRO team. What else can I say? I'm speechless. I think I'm just gonna turn this quest in and go and have my mind blown in privacy.
Celebrimbor had kept one of the three for his own.
At the moment that Sauron placed the rolling ring on his own finger, Celebrimbor knew his danger. He removed his ring and vowed to never wear it again, let his mind be dominated by the Dark Lord. Those of the jewelsmiths who had similarly kept rings were made to give them up, sometimes by force, and the 3 rings were sent in secret to hidden betters. Messages were sent to men, dwarves, and elves in which Celebrimbor admitted his folly and warned of the coming war. So were the folk made ready to defend Middle-earth, but it would not be enough to save Eregion from the ravages of Sauron. The gates of Mordor opened, and the armies of Sauron came forth. He would seize as many of the rings of power as he could find, but the 3 remained hidden to him, and he touched them not. Meneldir has returned from his errand to Mosworth. You took a long time and you missed so many great things. I wish you could have heard them.
The gates of Mordor? The armies of Sauron? What did I miss?
Yeah, I told you, you missed a lot. Surely it is not as bad as all that. Sauron has been dead for 3,000 years, and today Mordor is an empty land. Meneldir squinted at Bregoleth. Sometimes elves have trouble making the passage of the years. I mean, no offense. Yeah, those words are coming back to get you.
I returned Tegwin to Mosworth.
Finally, we got one level for our first virtue at level 15. That is so out of proportion. So you see, we're coming also back to this idea of the highs and lows of the expansion, and once again, all this deal with the virtue SP is a low, but we are coming from such a big high that I'm willing to let it pass just this time. I returned Tegwin to Mosworth, and while I was unable to coax a promise not to venture again into the wild, his parents gave him enough chores to keep him occupied at least until adulthood, at which point I think our obligation to keep him safe must surely lapse. I swore an oath to the farmers of Swanfleet. Meneldir studies their expression and sighs heavily. Duindil did not speak kindly of me, did he? I am not surprised, Beriathan. In my heart, I still hold the cause of the Dunedain most dear, but I understand my folk may not believe it, and I cannot deny the breaking of my oath. But who is your new friend? If she hates the Uruks as we do, and is willing to aid us, perhaps she can help us track down several of their leaders? Rumor of 3 such villains has preceded me here, and I cannot help but think the work would go more quickly if we were to split up, each of us to deal with one.
I have hated Orkkind for much longer than you have been alive, Dunedain.
As for the oaths you have taken or broken, I know he to whom you are sworn, or should be. I know what he desires to become. Ask not if I will help you, Ranger of the North. Ask instead if you are strong enough and courageous enough to lend any assistance to Bregoleth of Imladris, of which she could have any need. Bregoleth smirks at Meneldir, an amused light dancing in her eye. The ranger stirs back, his mouth open. I will slay one of your Uruk leaders, Meneldir, and Beriathan will slay another. Can you be trusted to deal with the third? Show their locations to us on the man's map, and we will see it done. Afterwards, we can meet at Idoville, a camp of my people to the north of here. Alright. So she's having some fun, of course, but she is also really serious at the same time, so going back to Sam's own thoughts, marvelous creatures, these elves. I think this would be the first time Beriathan has met an elf as well. I don't think he had much chance of dealing with the elves back in Gondor, so I guess he is just as surprised as Menelder is. So, well, there you have it. We have joined forces with Bregoleth, and we will be going down to look for more, well, for the Uruk captains, I think it was, the Uruk bosses. But we cannot leave Caras Gelebren just yet. On one hand, we need to go back to Ilarion and turn in the quest with him. But on the other hand, we also gotta talk to Tarandir. And I think I'm actually gonna start the next episode with our Beriathan on Arkenstone so that we can do that. We don't have enough time for that today. So this is indeed the end of today's episode of Citadel Guard Adventures. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you on the next one. Until then, my friends, stay safe, take care, good luck to you all, and I will see you later.